I'm Lorraine Mitchell, and I'm a new lecturer in the Department of Economics. And when I was younger, I think what I wanted to be was a doctor, but I realized that I probably couldn't be one because not only did I faint at the sight of blood, but I actually passed out in the second grade during a class reading of the book Old Yeller, so any discussion of blood was also off limits. I realized I needed to find a new career path. I spent 20 years working for government in the US, and I've come back to academia where I spent also the early part of my career. And from here, I'd like to keep my options open. I think that the world is changing very rapidly. There are jobs out there that'll be existing in 10 years that haven't been invented yet, and so who knows where the path will take me. I think the most fun thing about economics is that you actually know how the world fits together. So you often hear people say, well, I don't really understand how interest rates work, or I don't really understand how the economy works, but we feel that we have that understanding and we know how things fit together, and it gives you a great deal of peace of mind that you have this sort of insight into the way the world works. Economists, our main job is to figure out how it is that society is supposed to expend its scarce resources. So that means we're trying to figure out how society spends its resources in the presence of a lot of constraints and limits. And so in doing that, and in using economic reasoning, you can apply it to a lot of different problems in a lot of different walks of life. Everything from education to medicine to how resources are distributed within a household. And this enables you to gain insights that you probably otherwise wouldn't have had to these particular problems. I would say to someone coming to the OU to study that even though you're engaged in distance learning and you may not ever see most of the people with whom you interact online in person, there are a lot of people who are very invested in your success, and a lot of effort is put into undergraduate teaching on the part of the assistant lecturers, on the part of the staff tutors, on the part of the central administration academics, and on the part of the central administration itself. And everybody's very invested in the success of undergraduates here, and a lot of thought gets put into course materials. So I think students can come away with the reassurance that people are there wanting them to succeed. I think the greatest award of being an academic in 2020 is just the sheer array of techniques and technologies that you have to reach out to students. You can incorporate almost anything you want into classroom materials these days, thanks to the internet. And so you have access to videos and all kinds of cartoons and things of that nature that you wouldn't have had access to back when I was an undergraduate. The biggest challenge about being an academic in 2020 is competing for students' attention in between the political activities of the day and the latest BuzzFeed quiz on which Harry Potter character you want to be. Students have a lot of pressing commitments to their time. Many OU students are caregivers or are working full-time. They also have a lot of input from society which tells them that they need to be constantly monitoring themselves. So they're supposed to have apps that they put every transaction of a financial nature into. They have apps that they're supposed to program their calories into. And this constant sort of self-monitoring kind of takes up a lot of time. And so getting the students' attention and around all of the other things that are competing for it is probably the greatest challenge of being an academic today.